What's the strangest thing you have seen someone do at the gym?
Story 1. One of my first jobs was working in a gym daycare. Honestly, a great job. You could drop your child off for a maximum of 2 hours, but we were really relaxed with that rule. Rarely did anyone go over that, and if they did, it wasn't a big deal. Until we got this one mom. She'd drop her baby off and literally leave the gym. She'd be gone for 4 hours sometimes, and we had to get the manager involved. Her husband showed up one day looking for her. Shocker, his baby was there but not his spouse. Turns out she was cheating on him. I had to witness the confrontation firsthand. I literally just wanted to take care of the kids and babies, and somehow got sucked into a love affair. Story 2. I'm a regular at a fairly standard gym, nothing fancy. One Tuesday morning, though, things took a surreal turn. A middle-aged guy, dressed in what looked like a full-body spandex suit, covered in reflective tape, started doing his routine. Now, his routine wasn't your typical weightlifting or cardio. He was performing what I can only describe as interpretive dance with dumbbells. He'd lift them, then move them in slow, deliberate arcs, occasionally punctuating the movements with dramatic poses and guttural moans. He was completely oblivious to everyone else, lost in his own world. At one point, he started incorporating the exercise balls, rolling them across the floor while contorting his body into impossible positions. People were staring, some were laughing, others were just trying to ignore him. He finished his performance with a dramatic bow, then calmly packed up his gear and left. I never saw him again, but I'll never forget the sheer theatricality of his workout. It was like watching a modern dance piece in the middle of a weight room. Story 3. As a gym owner, I've seen my fair share of odd behavior. But this guy, let's call him Tony, took the cake. He wasn't doing anything physically strange, but he was constantly giving unsolicited advice to other members. He'd walk around the gym, interrupting people's workouts to offer tips on their form, even if they were clearly experienced lifters. He'd also launch into these long, rambling monologues about the importance of mindset and positive energy. He'd even yell out phrases like, "feel the burn," and he got this, at random intervals. People started avoiding him, but he was completely oblivious. One day, he decided to host an impromptu motivational seminar in the middle of the weight room, complete with a whiteboard and markers. That was the final straw. I had to politely ask him to tone it down, which he did, but he still occasionally slips into a motivational speech now and then. Story 4. There's this older gentleman at my gym who has a very specific routine. He brings a small collapsible stool and a large padded phone case. He finds an empty corner of the gym, sets up his stool, and then places his phone inside the case, creating a makeshift phone booth. He then proceeds to do his entire workout inside this little enclosure. He'll do stretches, light weightlifting, even some yoga poses, all while confined to this tiny space. At first, I thought he was just shy, but he seems perfectly comfortable interacting with people outside of his booth. He'll chat with other members, ask for spotting help, and then retreat back to his enclosure. It's like he has his own personal workout bubble. It's odd, but also kind of endearing. Story 5. I was doing my usual treadmill routine when I noticed a couple in the stretching area. They weren't just stretching, they were engaged in a very intimate stretching session. They were doing partner stretches that involved a lot of close contact, suggested movements, and whispered conversations. It was clear they weren't just stretching. They were using the gym as a backdrop for some kind of foreplay. It was incredibly awkward, especially when they started incorporating some rather suggestive poses. People were trying to ignore them, but it was hard not to notice. Eventually, a staff member politely asked them to keep it PG, and they moved to a more secluded area. It was definitely a first for me. Story 6. A woman comes to my gym every day. She brings a large duffel bag, and she always changes outfits multiple times during her workout. This is not just a change of sports bras, but a full costume change. She'll come in wearing a standard workout outfit, then change into a brightly colored leotard for her cardio, then a full yoga outfit for her stretching, and then a weightlifting outfit for her weight training. She even has different shoes for each activity. It's like she's performing a one-woman fashion show. She's very organized about it, and always puts her items back into her duffel bag. She does not interact with anyone. She comes in, does her routine, and leaves. Some members find it odd, but it is not hurting anyone. Story 7. I'm a morning gym person. It's usually quiet, just a few regulars. One morning, a new guy showed up. He was doing a fairly standard weightlifting routine, but with one very distinct difference. He was silently screaming. Not a loud, audible scream, but a facial expression of intense agony, accompanied by guttural throat noises that sounded like he was trying to suppress a roar. Every rep, every set, he'd contort his face into a mask of pain, his veins bulging, his eyes wide. It was incredibly unsettling. People were giving him wide berths. He wasn't hurting anyone, but the sheer intensity of his silent screams was unnerving. He finished his workout, wiped down his equipment with meticulous care, and left without saying a word. I never saw him again, but I still wonder what demons he was battling during those reps. Story 8. As a personal trainer, I've seen a lot of gym quirks, but this one was truly bizarre. Two guys, let's call them Mark and Steve, developed a strange rivalry involving the mirrors. They wouldn't directly compete with weights or reps. Instead, they'd compete by mirroring each other's movements. If Mark did a bicep curl, Steve would immediately do a bicep curl, but with slightly more exaggerated form. If Steve did a lunge, Mark would do a lunge, but with a deeper bend. They'd constantly be in each other's peripheral vision. It was like a silent, synchronized dance of muscle flexing. They'd even mirror each other's facial expressions, trying to out-grimace each other. It was incredibly distracting and kind of hilarious. I tried to intervene, suggesting they focus on their own workouts, but they just shrugged and continued their mirrored competition. Eventually, they started bringing in props, like resistance bands and foam rollers, to make the mirroring even more elaborate. They were completely oblivious to the amused stares of the other gym members. Story 9. I worked the late-night shift at a 24-hour gym. We had some odd characters, but this one took the cake. A woman would come in around 2 a.m., dressed in pajamas and slippers. She'd go straight to the cardio machines, but not to work out. She'd set up her phone on the treadmill, play a cooking show, and then proceed to unpack a full-blown picnic. She'd have a thermos of soup, a sandwich, a bag of chips, and even a dessert. She'd eat her meal while watching the cooking show, occasionally pausing to take notes on her phone. It was like she was having a midnight dinner theater experience on the treadmill. She'd clean up meticulously, wipe down the machine, and then leave. It was so bizarre, but also kind of organized. It became a running joke among the late-night staff. We even tried to guess what she'd bring for her next meal. Story 10. My gym started offering a new yoga class, mindful movement, which sounded relaxing. I went to the first session, and it started off normally enough. Then, about halfway through, the instructor announced that we'd be trying a clothing optional segment to connect with our bodies. I was stunned. Some people immediately got up and left, but others, including a few regulars I recognized, started disrobing. The rest of the class continued, with a mix of awkward giggles and forced nonchalance. The poses were the same, but the atmosphere was different. It was a bizarre experience, and I definitely didn't sign up for the next session. It was a clear overstepping of boundaries, and I could tell many individuals felt uncomfortable. Story 11. We had a member, a young man, who brought in a complex sound system every time he came to the gym. He had a portable speaker, a microphone, and a laptop. He'd set up his equipment in a corner of the weight room, and then proceed to create his own personalized soundscape for his workout. He'd play a mix of ambient music, nature sounds, and even his own voice recordings, giving himself motivational speeches. He'd also use the microphone to record his grunts and groans, then loop them into his soundscape. It was like he was creating his own personal workout soundtrack. He was completely absorbed in his own world, oblivious to the confused stares of the other members. He even had a small disco ball that he'd turn on during his more intense sets. It was a very unique approach to fitness. Story 12. There's a guy at my gym who treats the equipment like it's his personal collection. He'll set up at a bench press, then grab dumbbells, resistance bands, and a foam roller, spreading them all around him. He'll do a set, then scroll through his phone for 5 minutes, then maybe do another set, then wander off to grab another piece of equipment. He creates this massive perimeter around himself, making it impossible for anyone else to use anything. It's not malicious, just incredibly inconsiderate. He seems completely unaware that he's monopolizing half the weight room. I've seen people get visibly frustrated, but no one ever says anything. It's just one of those annoying gym realities you have to deal with. Story 13. I have a client who insists on taking phone calls during our sessions. Not quick calls either. Full-blown conversations, often about work or personal drama. I'm trying to guide her through exercises, but she's constantly interrupting me to answer her phone or talk to someone on speaker. It's incredibly distracting and makes it difficult to maintain any kind of momentum. It's also a safety issue as she's not paying attention to her form. I try to explain that it's not ideal, but she just brushes it off, saying she's a busy person. It's a constant battle, and it makes me wonder why she even hired a trainer in the first place. Story 14. Was working out with a friend, a young guy came in, probably about 16 or 17. I only really noticed him because he was in jeans and skate shoes. He looked nervous, like he was looking around to see if anyone was looking at him. Nervous grin on his face, which I get, being self-conscious when new happens. First thing he did was head over to the leg press. Puts the pin to the bottom of the stack, 500 or 600 pounds or something, and sets up to go. Let the press come down about 2 inches, legs shaking like crazy, and manages to push it back up. He was done with that one rep, gets off the machine with his same nervous grin. Next step was the treadmill. He wandered over to the line of treadmills, chose one next to a cute girl's, and starts it up peeking over at her a few times to see if she was looking. Within a minute, he turned it up to probably max speed. He was holding onto the sidebars, trying to take a step, but it just kept flinging his feet out behind him. He did that for another minute before putting his feel on the sides, slowing the treadmill down, got off and walked out of the gym. Story 15. You know those assisted dip machines? Like, there's a knee pad to kneel on, and 2 handles higher up for you to hold onto as you push yourself up and down. Well, I saw a girl using this machine, only instead of using it correctly, she was standing with one foot on the floor, had the other foot on the knee pad, and she was stamping the knee pad up and down. There was nothing for her to hold on to, so she was wildly off balance, and the ergonomics of the situation were just absurd. She was plainly using the machine incorrectly and even dangerously. But when I discreetly and politely excused myself and pointed out her error, she went straight into the classic, hostile, raised voice, over-defensive mode that puts a guy on his back foot. I was trying to tell her that she was likely to hurt herself or others, and she instantly starting to send signals to everyone in earshot. Guy talking to me in gym, I don't like it. It was a brief exchange, but she managed to pack a lot of toxicity into it. The lowest point being that she said she'd been instructed to use the machine that way by one of the gym attendants, a claim that was absolutely absurd. If the shoe had been on the other foot, I'd have welcomed someone pointing out I was using the machine wrong. But in this case, the girl felt the need to push back on the idea and flip the script to everyone around her, such that she ended up trying to make me look bad. Story 16. I was doing my leg press routine, and I noticed a couple engaged in a rather intense conversation nearby. They were using the leg press as a prop, leaning against it while they talked. The conversation was very flirty, with a lot of eye contact and suggestive comments. It was clear they weren't there to work out. They were using the gym as a pickup spot. It was a little distracting, especially when they started getting closer and closer. Eventually, they left together, presumably to continue their conversation elsewhere. It was a reminder that the gym can be a social space, but sometimes people take it a little too far. Story 17. There's this one woman who used to go to our gym who was obsessed with my wife. Like every room we went into, she'd follow and stare at her. She'd always use the machine directly opposite my wife too, and would always switch at the same time my wife did. Never ever spoke a word to us, but always just stared. It was weird. Story 18. There's a regular, older guy in my gym who goes from machine to machine, loads it up with minimum weight, but doesn't actually follow with any pressing/pulling. He just grabs the machine and starts to shake as if electricity was going through him. Nobody cares since he's there every day doing just that, but if I didn't know him, I might think he has an epileptic shock or something. Story 19. There's a woman who loves to dance in front of the mirrors, especially when the gym is less crowded. She puts on her headphones and just starts moving, doing her own improvised dance routine. It's not choreographed or anything. It's just her feeling the music and expressing herself. At first, it was a little strange, but now it's kind of endearing. She's completely uninhibited, and it's almost inspiring. It's a nice reminder that the gym can be a place for self-expression, not just physical fitness. Story 20. The women locker room at my gym can be a strange place. There's one woman who seems to treat it like a therapy session. She'll strike up conversations with anyone who will listen, sharing intimate details about her life, her relationships, her health problems. It's not that I don't sympathize, but it's often way too much information, especially while I'm trying to change her shower. One time, she started telling me about her recent colonoscopy while I was brushing my teeth. It's just awkward. You want to be polite, but you also want to escape.
That's a wrap for this video. Make sure to leave your relatable story down in the comments. I would love to make a video on them. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.